আপনারা দেখছেন টকিং পয়েন্ট।
সৌজন্যে মাহবুব এন্ড কো অ্যাকাউন্টেন্টস।
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking to our guest today, Martin Lumb, about a number of things. Now, from royal family and royalty, we shift to the Middle East scene, where we have a lot of kingdoms, a lot of sheikdoms, a lot of amirdom. But whether we are going to talk about royals or the problems, let's see. Martin, what is the British public opinion on Syria right now? What do you think? After the debacle in the House of Commons for the Prime Minister.
Well, it certainly was a debacle for the Prime Minister and for that hardcore on the right wing of politics who still believe strongly that Britain has an aggressive
role to play
internationally. Britain, I mean, everybody would agree that Britain certainly has a role to play internationally, but many people are thinking that there is a soft role in terms of diplomacy and negotiation, and there is the hard role which used to be called gunboat diplomacy. It's probably called cruise missile diplomacy these days. But there's been a big shift in public opinion, and the Syrian events have really crystallized this for people in this country, arguing about whether to go in and in an aggressive, violent way, like in Iraq, or whether we should approach this problem differently. That has really crystallized the arguments on both sides. And we saw in the British Parliament last week how the people who believe that this was worth going to war over had seriously misread public opinion, and that side of the argument was very out of step with public opinion. We can trace this back very directly to events in recent memory, the war in Iraq, which has cast a long shadow over politics in this country, over attitudes of whether we should be going to war, of whether we should be doing everything that America does. And politicians, I think, had a shock when they realized how seriously out of step they were, and have in turn changed their views about how we should be doing things, which you could say is a very good working illustration of how a democracy works.
Yes, it's a good sign, definitely. But a lot of people would not say that's a good sign just because the Labour Party finds itself on the other side of the parliament, so it would oppose anything. But they were the ones who took us to war, despite the huge demonstrations. The British public did not like.
The Labour government did take us to war.
It was Labour Party.
Indeed, and the Labour Party, the Labour government paid a very heavy price for that. They lost power. There were other reasons why they lost power, but the war made the government and the party very unpopular. It lost its leader, Tony Blair. It lost the leader after that, Gordon Brown. Now, the man who took over, this is the big difference, Ed Miliband, the first thing he said when he came into power as leader of the party was, we got that wrong. Not only did we get it wrong, we have to admit it to ourselves and to the country that this was a serious misjudgment. And this was quite a remarkable confession from a politician to completely repudiate what his party had gone through and what his previous leaders had gone through. And I think he won a lot of support in the country at large for that, because most people in this country did not support that war. It produced the biggest public demonstration there's ever been in this country.
After Vietnam.
Yeah, I think even including Vietnam. And British people are not easily prompted into having big demonstrations. We're a very calm kind of people. You know, we protest in this way and that way, and we might have a little demonstration here and there. But to get the numbers of people, this is always disputed, but Many people think there was 1 million people in the protests against that war. That is remarkable for Britain. That demonstrated how much opposition there was to a war that was on very unfounded grounds.
Yes.
And the population at large resented this. So when the new Labour leader came in, Ed Miliband, he made sure that everyone understood that as far as his party was concerned, no more wars would happen on a flimsy
Not on
basis.
our account.
And when that debate in Parliament happened, it's important to remember that Miliband did not say no war under any circumstances. He said that to attack targets in Syria now, when the UN weapons inspectors are still there,
Yep.
they haven't even left, let alone given us a report.
Yep.
He said we have to wait. We have to have sober reflection about this. You cannot go to war so easily and quickly as we did in the previous occasion in Iraq. But he was not someone who surrenders to aggression. He was somebody who was saying we have to have much more sober reflection over the reasons and the justification than we did last time.
Right. We always talk about some foreign country using gas or using missiles or using guns against their own innocent people, see. But we forget that in the heat of the moment that we are the ones, I mean the West, we are the ones who sold them these. When Assad was sold gas, I read it in newspapers that it was a British company with the approval of the government, and we didn't sell gas to them to make tea.
Yes, I'm not sure.
If we do sell such things, we should have proper control.
Well, I'm not sure where Assad got his gas from. I'm not sure where Saddam Hussein got his gas from. And he was the person who was openly using
from where he
gas
got his weapons
to
of
the
mass
Iranians. Now, we know where he got a lot of his other weapons.
Yeah.
He got them from the West.
Yeah.
And I don't recall any objections to Saddam Hussein using gas in that dreadful Iran-Iraq war for which Iran paid such a terrible price. But Saddam Hussein, who was being supported by Western countries, was using gas against the Iranians, which we all knew about, but there was no question of attacking Baghdad in that case because they were using gas. I mean, gas has been with us, as you say, for a long, long time. My grandfather suffered, was a victim of chemical war attack
Yeah,
in the First World War.
somewhere on the net about the Blitz.
Well, not in the Blitz, but in the First World War, the Germans and the British were firing gas at each other. The British were using gas against Bolsheviks in Russia. The British were using gas against fighting that was going on in Gaza with the Ottoman Empire in connection with the First World War. We used gas there. We were using gas, I think, right up until the mid-1920s when we decided it wasn't such a good thing, and we dumped it somewhere in the sea, so it's probably been causing some pollution since then. but there's nothing new about chemical warfare.
I hope they're not killing fish. You being a Yorkshireman, I can't let a Yorkshireman go without talking about Jeff Burkott. What are your views about the change in the attitude towards cricket? You know, first it was 5-day cricket, it was 3-day cricket, then we had 1-day cricket, then we have now T20, limited overs.
Yeah.
Cricket has changed completely. New countries have come up as good players, Bangladesh, including Bangladesh too. And then in the beginning, or probably towards the start, it was gentleman's game, see. But then the attitude has changed, and now it has become a common person's game, hasn't it?
Yes, the personality, shall we say, of international cricket has changed. You're quite right to point to the increasing support for the more instant kind of cricket, like T20, at the price of Test cricket, which people of our generation grew up on and still regard as our first love in sport. And you can see this with diminishing crowds for Test cricket, with a few exceptions, like, of course, Ashes series between Australia and England will always get big numbers. But you look at Test match attendances for other games, and it's diminishing, whereas the T20 form is increasing. And that's a worry for people who regard the game of cricket in a purist kind of way. You want to see the big picture, ebb and flow of a game stretching over a period of days. One side is in the ascendancy, and then a session later there's a remarkable performance by a bowler or a batsman, and the emphasis swings. And this is a fascinating long game.
Seesaw.
Rather than a seesaw, yes. Rather than what we would call, rather disparagingly, the kind of cheap thrill of a T20 game, which is all over in a couple of hours. So yes, the character is changing. I don't think it has damaged Test cricket irrevocably, but this is something we will have to observe very closely in the years to come. But I think if you look at what we've just enjoyed in this country, the Ashes series between England in Australia, full houses, 5 Test matches, 5 days, full houses the whole time, tremendous support for the match itself, and very much in line with the character of cricket, where as a contest between two sporting sides, you can applaud the opposite side. This is what really goes home to cricket purists, how this game can be approached by spectators and players in what we call a gentlemanly way. I know that sounds a little bit old-fashioned and fuddy-duddy, but there is that nice distinction, I think, with the way that a cricket crowd will appreciate the nuances of a game, and if the opposing side has a outstanding performance, that they will enjoy that as much as their own side. Let me give you one quick example. The Test match where the young Australian, he's a teenager still, Ashton Agar, he came in as the number 11 batsman, and he scores this remarkable, astonishing 98 runs in rapid time. An uplifting, heartwarming moment. Well, as a sporting occasion, first as a cricket occasion, but I think anybody who appreciates the spectacle of skill and youthfulness and sport.
He's like the Mo Farah of cricket.
Exactly, a very good comparison. Now when he scored that innings, the entire ground stood and applauded him. Yes. And that was a wonderful moment in sport. Now when was the last time, let me ask you a question, when was the last time you saw Chelsea supporters, to look at football for a moment, when was the last time you saw Chelsea football supporters applauding a marvellous goal by Manchester United against them?
True. They will go quiet, completely, your friend and mine, Mahir Bose, he says that people now want quick results. They spend £25 and they want in 3 hours, they want like to be entertained like it's a film, so that's cricket. Yes,
I think
that's IPL in Indian.
IPL, yes. That's had a huge effect on players' priorities. I mean, you can see how some of the spectacular West Indian players are putting IPL contracts above playing for their own country. True. That would be unthinkable not so long ago in the days of Clive Lloyd and Gary Sobers, when playing for your country, playing for the West Indies in their case.
Time now for us to take a break.
Okay.
Thank you, viewers, for being with us, and we will be back soon. Don't go away. See you soon.
আপনারা দেখছেন টকিং পয়েন্ট।
সৌজন্যে মাহবুব এন্ড কো অ্যাকাউন্টেন্টস।